Brooke and Jackie Wanden for Welcome to Country.
Wawa, narit Brooke Wanden, mamanik yurongit banyak. Kulang ba main mo pulok puro. Ikal, pinapal, waranjerial. Tula purungik, way warang Papanik pedilia ba mamanik al. Kukunik olive ba nyagapik day. Liwiki wandun, ba borate, ba bebeyern, ba bala. Kulanik bambut untu. Kulanik big wadamba ba narajaran. Big balat nyanyin Philippines. Punjul gamaji, kulam piranangu. Wan piranangu, wan pigar. Big kaido mangtagaru. Hey everyone, my name is Brooke Wanden and my father permits me to speak with you all today. Today there are many different languages and many different countries together. I belong to Wurundjeri country, Managum country, Birarang country. I'm a proud speaker of Woiwurrung. I speak better in language. I then explained my family, you might have heard some names in there, my connection to this place. My people have been here since people were born. My people heal and renew country. Country keeps us all strong. Bunjil created man from the Birrarung. I come from the Birrarung. I come from the clay. Walk gently on country. Wan nakarangana Sally bambut. Wan mernmerdika. Wan mangmangu. Wan mangmangu filpa. Nyarga Sally nyarga. Yinga Sally yinga. Brukuk Sally brukuk. Wunga. Yonemda. Yana baring darangalpik. I met Sally long ago. I was younger then. I remember you now, and I will remember you often. Dance, Sally, dance. Sing, Sally, sing. Paint, Sally, paint. Fast mind, big heart. Share your love wherever you go into the darangalpik. Thanks, Brooke. I just want to thank Rhiannon, Saxon and Marley for allowing me to speak today. But first I'd just like to acknowledge the Indigenous people here today, and also everyone here that has come to support Sally's family, Rhiannon, Saxon and Marley. That support is amazing, so thank you. I'm just going to read something for Sally. Mama nye, would you be? Sally murap lak, murap waranga. Banju mama and Sally. Soon doing in nyang nyang ring. Luik banarik warm. Ye Sally. Narang. Nakwaran you dolok pa palit. Maram you niku. Murup you gabak pa gabrin. Doringok pa beat. Karok yang dui. Nangin gabrang. Kaps. Mang mang ying world. Spirit will carry Sally to the clouds. I trust Bunjil with Sally will make Sally. Ancestors and family will make Sally. Her proud family. Strong. Her body sleeps. Her spirit up above and beyond. Go away, ascend to heaven. Watch all of us from above. We remember that you lived. Love yourself.
Thanks, Brooke and Jackie. And now we'll hear from the companion of Sally's heart, Trevor Jolly.
Thank you all for coming. Greatly appreciated. I think Sal touched all of us. me especially. I had 23 years with Sal, and she was the love of my life. I hope you all experience a joy like that. And, you know, we'll just look at Sal's life and remember her. And, yeah, the wonderful person she was, the fiery little redhead. I see a couple of chuckles in the back there from her partners in crime. But, yeah, look, she was a wonderful person, a prolific painter. I've put all the paintings on display up there for you all to come and have a look at if you want. Like I said, I lost track at 120, so you know, there's some good paintings of some good people, and I'm sure there's a lot of you who's got paintings in your own houses that Sal does. You know, so yeah, let's just enjoy the life of a lovely person, and she never judged anyone. She never, expected anything of anyone, but she was always there to help people. And if I could be half the person she was, I'd be happy. So, yeah, let's just enjoy Sal's life and remember her for what she was. A lovely person. Thank you. Love you, Trevor.
Thanks, Trevor. Next, I want to acknowledge that Saxon isn't able to be here today. He's in Berlin, but he's linked in and is able to hear and I hope see. Can he see what's happening as well? I don't know. Anyway, he's linked in with us. Hi, Saxon. Okay, so, well, here we are at an event that many of us are finding hard to believe is happening. A memorial service for Sally Grice. It's so hard to take in that our beautiful, golden-voiced, smiling, funny, big-hearted, abundantly creative Sally will never again be physically in our midst. Today we come together to share our great common loss, our grief and our tears, and also our love, our joy and our gratitude as we celebrate and share stories of Sally's life. So the first story is Kathy Dean, who's going to deliver the eulogy. Thanks, Kathy.
I'll be reading. I'm not as eloquent as some. Okay. When I think of Sally, what immediately springs to mind is her zany energy and her passionate zest for art, music, dance, friends and family, as well as her love of the environment and every kind of bird and animal, and laughter, which she did with such gusto, often cracking up even before the punchline. I'll be eternally grateful to her for the enthusiasm she engendered in me and many, many others to embrace the extracurricular in life. She quite naturally and with no sense of inhibition took the path of the artist and humanitarian. Nothing about her was contrived. It was who she was. Sally was the first person I met who danced like nobody was watching. Just about always the first person on the dance floor, she immersed herself and became one with the beat, inspiring others to follow with her free-form style and perfectly timed dance movements. She loved music, but particularly the female blues singers of the 1940s, reggae, calypso, and that of First Nations people the world over, especially that of Aboriginal people here. Sally was Nicky Bomber's #1 fan. Ever since he first hit the stages of our lives more than 2 decades ago, and I can't tell you how many Bomber gigs we've attended. We last danced to Bomber and his band of amazing musicians at the Mimo Music Hall in St Kilda on New Year's Eve 2019. A wonderfully memorable night. I'm so glad we went as we didn't see COVID coming. Sally did not live an ordinary life. In fact, she railed against ordinary. She wanted to move mountains to restore justice and respect for Indigenous people. She wanted to conserve our natural environment. She wanted people to be kind to each other, to treasure the children, the artists, the minorities, and those sidelined by life. Sally cared incredibly deeply about so many aspects of life, to the point where despair and tears could ensue in the face of some intolerable event or another. But she would eventually pick herself up again and find a paintbrush, a musical instrument, a pen or a friend, and connect with life using one means of creative communication or another as her avenue of expression and emotional release. She was a very passionate soul on so many levels. Sally was born in 1952 to Leonard and Marjorie, joining siblings Christine and William. Sally adored her father and was proud of his work on the beautifully decorative wrought iron lighting fixtures on Prince's Bridge that crossed the Yarra River from Swanston Street to St Kilda Road. Len later became an ABC radio announcer and was the voice of the telephone time service. Up until very recently, you could still call and hear the voice of Len Grice. Like Sally, he died too young, but she could still listen to his voice and did so from time to time. Sally's mother, Marjorie, worked in the Army Corps as a younger woman, was a devoted Christian and regular churchgoer. Going to church was not young Sally's style, and supported by her father, she gained permission to skip church and instead was permitted to stay at home to cook the family their Sunday roast. Sally was a musician from a very early age, taking piano lessons as a child, and in her teens took on music theory, reaching grade 8 level, which is no mean feat. As an adult, she also taught piano and had the pleasure of ferrying my daughter Rani to Montsalvat for around 6 years of lessons with Sal. She never lost her love of playing the piano. It remained one of her greatest pleasures. Sally left home at 17, and the ensuing few years were a roller coaster from which she emerged slightly scathed, but still, she blossomed into the artist and musician that remained her essence. As a young adult, she had some interesting jobs, including at both La Trobe and Melbourne universities, working in laboratories with fungus and growing culture, which fascinated her. With Carol Onley, she ran a vegetarian restaurant at La Trobe Uni, employing Colin Hay for a while as their onion peeler. No Vegemite sandwiches. There is more, but I think Jen and Sandy can fill in a few missing moments during these years, but I do know Sally was briefly a nurse before meeting Sebastian Jorgensen. Falling in love with Sebastian was a turning point in Sally's life. Moving to Montsalvat when it was truly an artist haven, she took classes with Leslie Sinclair, and her talents as a painter and musician grew with the creative appreciation she found here at that time. Sally was a singer of note too. Her voice was just gorgeous, strong, husky, harmonic, and with a terrific range. She often accompanied herself on both piano and guitar and explored a diverse range of musical genres. That rich voice could harmonise a treat, and with Sebastian's incredible classical guitar skills, they often collaborated in concert, theatre pieces and songwriting. Sally also sang with others, including Leslie Averill, Lisa Young, and in Acacia with Ange McMillan and Narita Kirov. You couldn't stop Sally singing, and she never refused an invitation to go on stage. She's sung on stage with many performers, including on several occasions with Kutcher Edwards singing Joe Guy's beautiful anthem Yalul, and on one memorable night in St Andrews grabbing the spotlight from Johnny Young to bust out Mustang Sally. Yep, she could really rock it too. While living at Montsalvat, Sally and Sebastian welcomed their first child, Rhiannon, in 1978, followed by Saxon in 1982. Later moving to the farm at Christmas Hills, they welcomed Mahalia and subsequently Sebastian's long-lost first child, Ben, from New York, who also became a part of their family. Sally just loved being a mother and gave Rhiannon, Saxon and Marley a rich and comparatively unique upbringing, never deviating from encouraging them in their dreams and personal ambitions. I think sometimes the children may have wished for a quieter life, but as adults, I think they can now look back and know how special and enriching their upbringing actually was. Seb and Sally not only shared their adored children and great love of music, art and the environment, but also treasured and highly respected Aboriginal people and their culture. They travelled to Raminginan in northeast Arnhem Land on several occasions, forming strong bonds with Yolngu actor David Golpool and songmen Bobby Bummingar, Jimmy Jamamba and Peter Malanga, as well as their families, friends and community. The musical relationship they formed saw the formation of the band Wak Wak Dungi, meaning Crow Fire Music, with members from both Ramanginin and Christmas Hills. Wak Wak Dungi blended traditional Aboriginal songs, music and dance performed by Jimmy, Bobby, Peter, and often other Yolngu songmen and dancers, with Sebastian on classical guitar, Peter Mane on keyboard and soundscapes, and Sally as the passionate, heartfelt, harmonising backing vocalist. Sally also gained permission to sing a traditional women's song that had to be completed within the one breath and which became an enthralling part of the repertoire. I can still hear it. The vast distance between Wak Wak members meant that playing together didn't happen regularly, but still they performed at many events including Womadelaide and Darwin Festival, and also toured Japan, although sans Sally on that occasion. Wak Wak recorded an album in 1997 titled Crow Fire Music, which was later discovered in the archives of 3RRR and reprised with additional songs in 2018. The music's still very relevant and beautiful today as it was then. The personal relationships formed with people from Ramanginin remained strong over many years. Sally was often making packages of clothes, useful items, cash and gifts to send to people there, and just before she died was putting together another package for her Ramanginin friends who she considered as family. Sally and Sebastian took their children on many adventures, the likes of which were never ordinary. They later separated but remained for some time on the same property in Christmas Hills. Things were not always smooth sailing, but they remained friends for life and cared for each other deeply. Whenever I visited Sebastian, he would ask me, "Well, how's Grice?" It was sparse in expression, but touching to know that he still genuinely cared for her. In 1997, Sally met Trevor, and another love story began. I remember when they first got together that she was just loving being in love again, constantly singing the praises of Trevor, and I mean constantly, as people in the first throes of love tend to do. They subsequently purchased their own place just out of Seymour and moved there with 8-year-old Marley. Rhiannon had left home only to return soon after to Christmas Hills, which is still her home today, although under threat from the administration here, sadly, much to Sally's total fury. Saxon stayed with Seb, then moved back to Montsalvat at age 16 or 17, and was probably the last Jorgensen to flourish there, or here. Trevor supported Sally's cultural pursuits and was introduced to the Ramanginin mob and Sally's wide circle of friends who he embraced, including most of us here, a lot of us here. She relished his courage, bravado and mechanical prowess, as well as his willingness to embark on adventures with her. They spent the last 23 years together, in which time there were memorable trips to Arnhem Land, with Trevor becoming a great friend to and advocate for the Ramanginin community. There was also the odd enterprise with Sally and Trevor joining forces with their friend Yarif from Colorado to sell ex-army tents and beers. Still got some food? Yep. Sally continued to grow as a painter, and in 2005 she held her first exhibition at Montsalvat's Long Gallery titled Toned. Her paintings depicted scenes from Arnhem Land and were complemented by some earlier works from her days at Montsalvat and Christmas Hills. I remember we took them unframed to Sigmund, who commented, "Sally, I never knew you had it in you." Sigmund framed each one himself and helped hang them in the Long Gallery. The exhibition was a great success, with Sally becoming the highest-selling first-time exhibitor at Montsalvat. Sally has been a truly great friend to me. She always called me Katerina, making me feel special, as she did with all the people she loved, and her genuine friendship has been ever present throughout several decades, over 5 decades for me. She did so much for me and many others. She painted my caravan in funky designs, sewed the most artistic range of bibs for our son Darcy, and my house is full of so many gifts from Sally, ranging from the toy kangaroo that says, "Hi, my name is Kathy Kangaroo," which she thought was hilarious, to our stunning oil painting portrait of Darcy. She was a prolific portrait painter for many years, giving most of her work to her subjects. Sally painted family, old friends, and even people she'd only just met, and was commissioned to paint several portraits with the latest request from her doctor at the Austin Hospital. I encouraged her to enter the Archibald Prize, a mission she took on with glee. Twice we travelled to Sydney with a portrait of international citizen Tracy Norton, and then Nicky Bomber in serious drumming mode, taking planes and trains, looking for oversized taxis to take these large works, and when none were to be found, finishing up on foot, making mad and comic dashes across busy Sydney intersections, carrying these sizable paintings to the New South Wales Art Gallery. Winning didn't matter. It was the process that was wonderfully fulfilling to the artist in Sally. Studying and painting the subjects over many months, planning the trip and encountering the fascinating and vibrant packing room of the gallery where we met so many of her peers. After delivering the work, we then went around to the front door of the gallery to see the art within, and once went to Brett Whiteley's studio for a squiz, which was marvellous. Each time after delivering the painting, we caught a ferry across the harbour to the zoo and back, not getting off the boat, just enjoying the ride, the vistas, and the joy of being on Sydney Harbour. Sally just loved the sea, rivers, and all waterways. If she could get to the beach, she would, and if she could leap into the pool here, she would, and often did. This love of the water was reflected in a series of paintings that culminated in another exhibition at Montsalvat in 2001, titled Water, Spirit of the Valleys. Sally also entered her paintings in several competitions, including the Nillumbik and Malden art prizes. Her house is full of paintings, as are many of her friends and family. She was a committed artist, and like the true artist, couldn't help but do it. Sally's circle of friends is massive, and even up to a month before she died, she was speaking of people I'd never heard of despite knowing her for over 50 years. Over the years, we held many an ad-fab lunch, that's what we called them, and I think she had a few ad-fab lunches with Jen and Sandy too. We were usually at the home of Dawn Lynch, but often in Seymour too. At first it was only Sally, Dawn and I, but over the years we were joined by many other fabulous women in our pursuit of laughter and togetherness. A very special friend to Sally over many years was David Dalpool, along with his family. She visited David in Arnhem Land in Darwin, and together we have visited him in Murray Bridge, where he's doing battle with his own illness. I know Sally would want me to mention him especially, and also Mary, whose dedication to David's welfare is a godsend for all who treasure him. Sally spoke to David and Mary recently, letting them know that she wouldn't be back again. The past 10 years or so have seen some wonderful times, but have also often been difficult, with illness progressively intruding on Sally's life. But she never gave up, with strength drawn from her great love of life, her creative passion and drive, and the people who meant the most to her pitching in to keep her afloat. She kept singing, painting and dancing and playing music really loudly until she couldn't. Beautiful Marley was in-house helping to keep her inspired, and offered her so much practical yet tender, selfless care. Rhiannon was her special spark and kept her thinking about all sorts of matters, and Saxon, aka Stark, pursued his musical passions in Berlin, which made her so proud. Dear Trevor gave his best and loved and supported Sally throughout her long illness. I took their last photograph together a few days before she died, and the tenderness of the moment captured speaks volumes of their mutual bond and intrinsic love for each other. It's been our lucky privilege to have had such a creative, loving, passionate, energetic and authentic person as was Sally in our lives. As Jen told me just before she passed, Sally never met a stranger. And so, dear Sally, in the words of the Yolngu, Bobo, until next time.
Thank you, Kathy. Now, Tracy Norton is going to read a poem for us.
I'm a ring-in to this program. I think Kathy found this poem and thought it was so Sally, and it is really. Unfortunately, we don't know very much about the poet. But she's on the internet, but very mysterious person. Anyway, she wrote this in 2013. The artist is the one who is up all night. The artist is the one who looks lost. The artist is the one who fears no tyrant, because it just becomes the next piece. The artist is the one who cries out with a pen. The artist is the one who finds safety in a brush. The artist is the one whose enemy is the blank spaces, because that's where the uniformity is, and the potential. The artist is the one who retorts just injustice. The artist is the one who rips at the seams. The artist is the one who screams at the world because it seems no one will listen. But never does that stop the artist, for the artist is one of persistence, a never-ending fire that burns inside, a passion that will never die. Without the artist, our world will crumble. Without the artist, our life will go grey. Without the artist, our days would be lonely, because that's when the blank spaces win. It's the colour that bursts from the mind. It's the thought that paints the sky. It's the music that gives us hope, because it's only with the artist we see reason to be alive. Vale Sally.
Okay. Jen and Sandy.
Jen and I are going together because we're chicken, aren't we?
Yeah.
I first met Sal when we were 13 at high school, as did Jen and two other lovely ladies here. We became good friends in a group all through school and had lots of laughs. After we left school, I didn't see her for a few years, and then when I just returned from a trip to India, I happened to run into Sal on the steps of the GPO in the city. After that followed many years of the most crazy, fun and wild years of my life. We had few restrictions or responsibilities, and it was the best of times. I nearly killed her twice on my motorbike, and she saved my life once, as well as introducing me to my husband. Her life was full, and she really made the most of it. She was such a social person, always knew people everywhere we went, and she could always remember their names. She was a very positive and insightful person, uncritical about other people. After Montsalvat and Sebastian and children, we stayed close until Sal moved to Seymour. And after that, our worlds grew apart, but we both knew we were in each other's thoughts and hearts. You will be in mine forever, Sal. I'm so glad to have known you.
Oh, glasses. As Sam said, we met in grade 5. And I've got the other view of Sal. She was a bloody larrikin. Absolute larrikin. You know what it's like when you start a new school, and I was so sooky and timid anyway. And in the first term, there was this girl called Anne, well, she should remain nameless, but it was called Anne Dolly. And Sally bloody dumped her on the concrete. And I'm going, oh, thanks, Mum, for choosing this school. It was like Win Leighton, which was a bad girl's home. And I thought, oh, I'm not going to survive here. So I did a fair bit of greasing up, I am sure, in case she had my backbone in the crosshair. And we forged a wonderful friendship. But she was always a devil. Like, this is before she was an artiste. She was a devil. Always hilarious and so protective of all her, nearest and dearest. I don't know. It was so hard to write this, and this is the 20th draft because every time I think of Sal, I just think of more funny things. Anyway, oh God, my knees going. Yeah. Early 60s in our life was pretty bloody tame, It was before, it certainly wasn't Carnaby Street or, Chelsea. No. Oh, well, obviously. Another fib. Anyway, but the music was fantastic, and we used to go to dances and stuff all the time, and, the loved ones in Easy Bed, like Max Merritt, it was just fantastic. Anyway, there was a dance, I don't know where it was, but this really mean-looking sort of love-hate on her knuckles, Sharpie, and Sal got into a heated argument. And I'm sort of hovering behind thinking, don't be doing this, Sal, please don't be doing this. And I think the hate knuckle went like that. Sal, of course, deft and agile, ducked. And it was honestly like, when you see in cartoons that deviated septum, black eye, and I don't think, but anyway. I don't know, raving now. I forgot to, well, she done, so I copped it. Thanks, Sal. Mum was wrapped when I got home. I had this new dress I got from sports school, white, blood all down the tracks. Anyway, also, when Kath mentioned swimming, Sal was a really good breaststroke, yeah. And we used to go to the ball and bars quite a bit, and she would do laps, and I'd be lolling around, trying to attract boys. Yeah, looking for the spark. Yeah. Anyway, one day she's up and down, and I'm still sort of, hopeless swimming, bobbing around, and trying to look gorgeous, and she's on her way back doing 100th lap or something. She said, "Jen, get out of the water now." And I'm thinking, sharks. Unbeknownst to me, I so flat chested and I padded my bikini top with toilet paper. So it was sort of like an aquatic Isadora Duncan out the back, or Thale Lester Williams, or a shocking Sylvan ad or something. She, get out. So I did, and when you're 13, you're so, And anyway, the boys, I didn't know them because they were just pricks. And everyone was laughing. Of course, I would have laughed at me if I hadn't have been 13. So we get out, and the leader of the pricks, big man, Sal grabbed his Barney banana and poked it down his bathers with the other banana. And everyone then, of course, transferred their laughter to him. But she was always fiercely protective of everyone she loved. Really, really, really. I don't know. I love her 60 years of friendship. I don't think any of us would have the stamina for 2 Sally Grices in our life. Really. But love you forever, darling.
Thanks, Jen and Sandy. Fab. Is Gwen here? Okay. So now we're hearing from Fab.
We shared a life in a home for many years. Sally and myself and Sebastian and Rhiannon and Saxon and Mahalia and my soulmate Gwen, who's not able to be here today, lived at that farm throughout the 1970s and most of the 80s. And so we got to know each other quite well, sharing a home more or less together between Montsalvat and Christmas Hills. So we're alternating the other family. I was at home based at Christmas Hills. And of course, we spent a lot of time in the Northern Territory together, Sally, myself, and the children, travelling into remote places and meeting extraordinary people and living extraordinary lives. So we have had quite a lot of memories to share. So I guess today I'd just like to share some of those memories from myself and from others who aren't able to be here, who've passed notes on to me. So I shall always remember Sally as a spirited, open-hearted, caring, very compassionate, loyal and generous human being with a boundless energy and lust for life, more than most of us. Anyway, she was a person who loved singing, painting, gardening, cooking, making music, craft making, baking bread, rearing farm animals, and excelled in all of these with the focus that she brought to each and every task. I remember her as a fearless and adventurous person, not afraid to venture out of her comfort zone. She would spend time in the most remote parts of northeast Arnhem Land, learning Yolngu Aboriginal cultural law, ceremonial practices and language. She earned the respect of the Indigenous community and got their permission to sing Yolngu traditional songs at concerts and on albums with Wak Wak Jungi Group, including her very personal rendition of the ceremonial women's song that Kathy spoke about earlier, which she sings solo on the Wak Wak Jungi album. She enjoyed and put great effort and love into the things she did, all the things she did, and gave generously of her time and service to all of us around her. She inspired us, consoled us, heartened us, and could diffuse tension with a light-hearted, cheerful banter. She always kept things interesting. She was a great homemaker, Sally, who created wondrous worlds for her three children, Rhiannon, Saxon and Mahalia, to grow up in, at Montsalvat, at Christmas Hills, and eventually in Seymour. All three of the children can hold close to their hearts their experiences with Sally at those places. With all the changes life brings, Sally remained a steadfast friend to all those near and dear to her. One of my fondest and most profound memories with Sally, very early on when we first met her really, was travelling in a car with her on the road to Christmas Hills, and she had a girlfriend with her. I think a few people here might remember that lady, and she was a great singer, and Madeline. And Madeline and Sally broke into a harmony song that they sang together on the road to Christmas Hills in full voice rendition of Bob Dylan's song, I Shall Be Released. And here I was in the back seat listening to these two ladies singing this song, which they used to sing together at the Divine Light Mission satsang, in fact. And that was the Bob Dylan and the band's version. And so now Sally has finally been released. She's left this mortal coil, and heaven has just got itself another leading lady, and she'll be watching over us. So that's my memory of Sally. I have a slightly longer version, and in some ways more personal, from the time that Gwen, my partner, spent together with Sally. And she says, she couldn't be here today, unfortunately. We live thousands of kilometres away. It was hard enough getting through the Victorian borders for one of us, but I managed. So Gwen's earliest memories of Sally are of her as a new mother to Rhiannon. Earliest memories, born in 1978, Rhiannon, and soon to be mother to Saxon in 1983, who were both brought to the world with little fuss at home at Montsalvat, meaning home births. Mahalia was born later at Sandy's home in 1989. Gwen remembers all this very clearly, more than I do. Sally was a natural and devoted mother to her children, who were lovingly nurtured at all times. She loved and took great delight in her little ones and all the creative opportunities motherhood presented. She was a natural artist. Her artistic expression was woven into her family life. She had many traditional homemaking skills: stitching, sewing, knitting, growing and feeding her growing family. She nurtured her children's creative skills and often painted and performed for and with them. She could juggle the demands of her immediate and her extended artistic family, remaining positive and enthusiastic in practicing her creative talents. While touring and performing with her musical collaborator and father of her children, Sebastian, little Saxon and Rhiannon were often happily located next to Mum on the stage, receiving a calming kiss and cuddle in front of an audience. Over the years, Gwen watched Sally proudly supporting all her children's evolving professional and creative lives. She kept a remarkable record of her family, painting them and their friends together whenever an opportunity arose. She was able to capture the best elements of people's character. She produced realistic, insightful, and joyful images. Gwen, and a tethered crocodile were fortunate to have been painted by Sally in the back of a ute travelling through Arnhem Land. It's probably the best the crocodile and I have ever looked, says Gwen. When I look at the beautiful portrait Sally did of Gwen, not me, of me over the years, Gwen sometimes thinks that Sally seemed to know her better than she knew herself. She says Sally's contributions to the gardens at Christmas Hills and Montsalvat took great effort. She would carry her gardening treasures and tools back and forth between Christmas Hills Cottage and the formal gardens at Montsalvat. We spent many hours gardening together and were amused at the domestic time warp that the Christmas Hills Cottage presented, retrieving firewood across the hills in winter and making meals in a wood-fired oven together. Though sometimes deeply aggrieved by the injustice and destructiveness of modern life, Sally chose her own unique path to a more loving, peaceful and beautiful world. Gwen experienced Sally's collaborations with the Indigenous people of Raminguini as central to the production of the unique Wak Wak Jungi recording. She says Sally's empathy with her collaborating musicians, her connection with the Raminguini community, and her hospitality that she showed during their visits to Melbourne made it possible to produce the recording. She was considered family in Raminguini, and she maintained unwavering practical support, particularly for the women and girls during her many visits, and with her shipments of clothes and cooking and domestic equipment that was sent up to her, which Trevor also contributed to greatly. So Sally was an extremely warm-hearted and generous friend to Gwen, and like many others, Gwen greatly appreciated the creative opportunities that Sally offered her. When we first met, she says, she offered musical mentoring and invited me to rehearse and perform with her in the communal band that was formed for the Christmas Hills Festival, the Green Gorillas. In great music has been unearthed from those days recently. In those and other musical ensembles, Sally acted as an intermediary between Sebastian's exacting melodic requirements and the contributions of a sometimes raucous chorus, a challenging exercise in diplomacy which Sally undertook in good humour and spirits. I worked with Sally in completing large backdrop and scenic paintings for shows and concerts. Her versatility taught me valuable skills to enable me to later produce textile artworks of my own. That's not me, that's Gwen. The most recent time Sally and I spent together was at the Blues Festival in Byron Bay. The joy that Sally took in being in the presence of the music and musicians of her youth was deeply moving. As throughout her life, Sally was physically uplifted and carried by the music. And so she used to come to Byron Bay for the Blues Festival regularly with the children, and we'd all live together, and Nikki would stay with us sometimes. And in fact, I think Nikki and Sally wrote a song together once. It was called Don't Make Me Laugh. Lyrics by Sally Grice. You might sing it for us later, inside. I share with Sally's family and friends. Gwen shares with Sally's family and friends the celebration of a joyful, spirited and inspired collaborator and friend. So that's Sally, remembered by Gwen. And there's Anton Thomas. Is Anton here? So Anton, in his absence, I shall read his notes that Kathy transcribed from a phone call, I believe. Anton really, really, really loved and treasured Sally. Ever since he was in his teens, he would spend time here at Montsalvat with her. Many years later, he and his partner, wife, soulmate, Christy, would look after Sally on her many jaunts up north, and we know how deeply Sally appreciated the love and hospitality that she found in their lovely home up there in the hinterland of the Gold Coast. And so Anton recently wrote, quote, "One of my favourite things about Sally could not walk past me without grabbing my arm and stopping me, placing her hands on my cheeks, looking into my eyes with a smile, and singing either a verse or a chorus of a song. Then, with great enthusiasm, telling me the name of the song and asking, 'Can you learn this song so that we can sing it together?' Sally, Anton says that he loves you. Farewell, Sally."
Sally's friend Paula Vermas wasn't able to get here today, but she emailed what she would have liked to say. 2 weeks ago, I was in deep meditation at a sound healing workshop. As the crystal bowls sang, suddenly there was Sally laughing. "It's all right, Paulie," she said, "it's all right." I said, "But Sally, I don't want you to go." Still laughing and with a big smile, she said to me, "But I haven't gone, Paulie, I haven't gone." So in the spirit of that experience, this is to you, Sally. Hey, Sally, as I write this, there's a big full moon over Terrania tonight. The bush is all silver in its light, and I can hear the creek rushing past, and I'm thinking of you, Sally. Sister Sal of the long red hair, the megawatt smile, the shining eyes and throaty laugh. What incredible luck to have met you so long ago. How wonderful that after all these years we are still friends. Thank you for being my friend, Sal. Always there when needed, always yourself, so real, so honest, and yet so kind. Always ready for a spliff, a laugh, an adventure. There also, with your warmth and understanding, when the chips were down and the world seemed harsh and cruel. Your caring heart. I can hear you singing your songs, playing the guitar or piano. I can see your wonderful paintings and the many beautiful gardens you created, and your best creations, your beautiful children. And with all of this, you still had time and love for your friends. Thank you for your generosity of spirit, praising me up big, making me feel like $1 million. I always felt good around you, Sal. Safe to say what I felt and to be myself. I just knew you understood. So many years, so many scenes. Carlton, Montsalvat, Panton Hill, Christmas Hills, Seymour and Terrania. Precious memories. I can still see you here in my garden painting. I still have the one you did of my house. Oh, it's just a quickie, you said, a bit unfinished. It hangs on my wall where I can see it every day. I smile and think of you. Thanks for all that lovely music you sent to me, always with a lovely card. Hey, Paulie, have a listen to this. Hey, girl, what about the last time we were together? Blues Fest, 2019. Archie Roach, Yothy Indy, Melbourne Ska Orchestra. Your favourite. 11 hours walking tent to tent, dancing, then trekking miles to the car park for a spliff. Midnight, Melbourne Ska Orchestra, I'm almost dead and you're still dancing. Hey, thanks for all those cards and letters we exchanged over the years. I just loved it when I go to the store for mail and there would be a card and a letter from you, and sometimes a prezi too. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And in the spirit of the singing bowls, I talk to you every day. Thank you for everything we shared. Thank you for your friendship. You're always in my heart, Sally. You are always in my heart. To all of Sally's friends here today, and to her dear family, Rhiannon, Saxon and Marley, and her heart's companion, Trevor, I've just got to say, how fortunate are we to have had our lovely Sal walk this earth with us for as long as she did. Beautiful words from Paula. And now Wayne and Giovanni.
Really, to think about Sally, all I've got to do is think of a cottage garden in full bloom in spring with the birds singing. And if you ever see a garden in full bloom, that's Sally. Flowers anywhere. Wherever she visited somebody, she always took a bunch of flowers. And I think she was the flower in everybody's life, whether it was with her voice or her sensitivity and love and gift giving. I was thinking about her daughters and a couple of qualities that I see in her daughters. With Rhiannon, in Sally, she expected to be backstage everywhere. Or on stage. And with Mahalia, she would offer a piece of fruit to the person at the very back corner of the room. I only knew Sally 40 odd years. The first time was she got my partner and I to get our food van into the Christmas Hills Festival. And we didn't have to pay, and we were the only ones who made money at that festival. And then I got to live in Christmas Hills with Seb and Sally, and I knew all her lovers. I could have been one, but I was a younger brother. Hence my intimate knowledge of that side of her life. She was a lover of David Gelflord, and I was there when she visited the year before COVID. I was talking to both David and Bobby Bunangur and Alan Murphy on Thursday. They were all desperately, David can't come, but Bobby and Alan almost were able to come, but last minute in COVID, and Bobby's got funeral commitments this week in Ramingining, and Alan is teaching, he's out at the Alice town camp, where the diversion program, teaching youth there. She's not a jump. Sally was a grouse Aussie Sheila. Not only was she like an Aussie Sheila, she was the only fully reconciled person that I knew in terms of Indigenous culture. Seb and I, during the 80s, we wondered, who the hell bloody lived here before us anyway? And we embarked on a long journey in discovering the identities of the people who lived on the land where we live now, here and everywhere, and learned about the influences that it has on us all. And Sally was there from the beginning. She's the only person now that knew how to sing the Woiwurrung songline of the Yarra Valley, which my daughter's playing in the background now. Not a jump. The totems was white cockatoo, white gum tree, crocodile, magpie geese. She sung a traditional woman's song in Jinnung. I don't think anybody's ever done that, apart from Sally. Like, what she learnt about Indigenous culture, and I was fortunate to live with my family in Ramingining when she was living there with Trevor. And she was adored and loved by all of David's sisters, who are the most traditional people in the world, more traditional than even David himself, and she learnt from them. I know people up there are wailing now for her. Unlike us, we keep it in, and they are genuinely wailing. Sally, she's gone to Doola country, Jindavik. Trevor, when he turned up on the scene, knight in shining armour. I've got lots of friends in my life, and fortunately through Sally, I think I can count Trevor as a friend, and I don't have anyone in my world who I know I can trust my back to if the chips were really down, like fair income down. And I know that he was like that for her. I had to teach, she made me start a martial art class in Christmas Hills. And listening to her friends, it sounded like she didn't really need it. But things were getting a bit testy. Towards the end of her relationship with Seb. And she learned to be able to hold her own even better. We all didn't catch up with Sally enough in the past. I've got a phone message from her. Wayne, I haven't seen you for a while. When are you going to drop in? She always gave. Like, she gave more than she received. Didn't matter where she went. And it didn't matter how fucked up you were. She made you, she noticed you and she made you feel alive. And I know plenty of fucked up people that love Sally. Rainbow Serpent. These are two songs that this is written by Bobby Bunangur and notated by Seb. Marnie's the only person in the world who is capable of learning anything of Seb in the latter years. Sally, with Jan and Sandia talking earlier, you can still see Sally alive today at her mates. There's Sally, I keep thinking to myself. And in her daughters, and in all of us, in all our hearts. She's a grouse big sister. She learned me to sort of like separate my pelvis from the rest of my body. Because I'd be there in the shadows, she'd say, Wayne, come on, dance. And But apparently I was stuck, and then Yeah, so if I went to a party or a dance, I really took special care to try and even hide more. Yeah, she's definitely alive in our hearts. Like I said, every time you see a flower, just think of Sally. Every time you hear a songbird, just think of Sally. She sung in Jinnah. She's the only white Sheila I know that can speak Jinnah. She was an enthusiast linguist of the Indigenous people. Fully reconciled, I can't stress that enough, how much she learned about the Indigenous culture and how much she ingrained herself within that culture to be a fully and complete Aussie Sheila in every possible way. I love you, Sally, and I'm sorry I didn't give more to you. Yeah, my heart weeps. Sally, I remember you. We remember you. Remember us.
Thanks, Wayne and Pavani. Beautiful. They need no introduction. Marlene Rhiannon.
Beautiful mama. Wild, authentic, fun, free-spirited, funny as fuck, dancing, singing, creative, warm, kind, affectionate. I just love words. Mum. My first memory of Mum is sitting in her lap against her knees, sitting on the checkered tiles in the kitchen where we lived at Montsalvat. She was singing songs to me and teaching me the songs. I was about 4 years old, and I remember it vividly. We used to go to Christmas Hills every weekend before we moved there, and every time I would go to sleep by candlelight, in the morning I would wake to a little dress at the end of my bed. To my surprise each time, and the size was fitting for a little Barbie doll that Mum had stayed up all night sewing by hand by candlelight. If you were lucky enough, you would feel blessed to have received one of Mum's handmade cards in the mail. They are epic, handwritten, intricate detailed lettering, handcrafted, painted stickers, drawings, so much love and time to her creation. And she also loved the lost art of writing letters. It's how she kept in touch with her loved ones and her best friends. Mum was also my best friend. I think all sisters feel the same way. I could tell her and ask her anything. I would rush home from high school and she'd be hanging out washing or something, and I would just be so excited to just tell her all about my day. Mum loved being crafty, as well as her creative expression of being a wonderful singer, gardener and painter. She would make things for her friends' children and babies, and it was so, so important to send the gift in time for the baby just before or after babies were born. She made these beautiful cushions with pockets, all by hand, and they had little handmade toys in them. She also took a lot of time in making Christmas gifts or Easter gifts when we were young, and I honestly thought they were all shop bought because they were so much love and detail had gone into them. She had the same care and passion for gathering bunches of flowers for people she was visiting, with some food she would make, and the same concern for cleaning the toilet if she knew guests were visiting her house. It would be the first thing she would do if she knew people were coming over. For an hour. And then she'd be like, did anyone need to go? Because I really took a lot of it. Mum had a true free spirit, from singing loudly in shopping centres and always the first on the dance floor. She would eagerly call or come to me and say, you'll dance with me. I can't wait for everyone to get drunk first. Let's start this. My brother, being a beautiful son, would also dance with her as well. Family friends said that Mum adored her children, and we really, truly felt that in every way. She was the most wise person in the room to me, with so much insight, at the same time expressing so much joy and laughter. What I think is so special is Mum and Dad made a pact when they had kids that they would be close and connected. So you could never go to Mum and complain about a sibling. She would tell you their many good points and make you see things from another perspective. That was Mum's gift. She thought about things differently, never just thinking of herself, but always wanting to walk in another's shoes for understanding. You brought me so much joy, Mum, and we laughed so much. Thank you for taking me under your wings on tour, teaching me how to harmonise, singing language and work with professional musicians and perform to crowds of thousands. That was one of my most amazing special times in my life, travelling with you and Waikato. Mum was a spiritual gangster, saying one of the best gifts she could give to us kids was that of meditation, and she paid for us to see her guru from when she was younger, and he spoke of happiness and joy. Mum said, love and happiness are choices. They don't just happen. You have to choose it every day. Happiness for yourself, and you choose to love others. She spoke of the otherness where she is now, and she got that word from the painters, the greats, where she learned about this notion of the other side. You are a true artist angel, Sally, and always believed in fairies and magic and kindness, and I will be eternally loving you and grateful that I got you as my mum.
Okay, mine will be short and brief. Our dearest Mama Bear, she exceeded in her role as a participator in this thing we call life. However, she wasn't just a participator, she was the main act. She was a brilliant mother, painter, gardener and all of that. But really, she was the best type of person you could know. Never self-serving, authentic, warm, always wanting the best for others, and fun. Boy, was she fun. All of my friends were jealous. She would have taken the brunt of any harm for those she loved. She shined for us all. We had a mum who was feisty yet extremely kind, bold yet humble, loud with a wonderful sense of humour, yet incredibly sensitive. For someone who was so talented and that could light up the whole room, she too struggled with her battles. But she could tame that beast and leave it at the door. Instead, she chose to warm others with her everlasting flame and encourage the discouraged. Forever bringing people flowers, forever singing songs in kitchens all over, and last but not least, forever warming our hearts with her glorious laugh. She managed to get people of all walks of life to confide in her, within minutes sometimes, of just meeting her. We all found it quite amusing, but there is so much depth to that fact. People felt so comfortable in her presence. She broke down walls and barriers with ease. I wish I could have cared for you well into an old age, Mum, because you were such a treasure. I wish I could have heard you gloat about grandkids one day, as you would have been a wonderful nana. However, I know you'll always be here in spirit. Luckily, we have countless hours of music and videos to remember you by. Your voice will never be too far from our minds, and I'll make sure that any grandkids will be fully immersed in your spirit. And of course, it will be imperative that they will know how to sing in tune. For those of you who'd like to tell a story or share a brief memory about Mum, please find Gary in the Long Gallery. He'll be filming short video messages. There'll be a seat where you can go and leave a special memory for us, and for the people who couldn't make it today, especially for Saxon, who is in Germany. Thank you to those who have travelled far and wide. It is a true testament to the many cherished friendships that Mum had forged in her lifetime. Thank you all.
Thank you. I just once again want to mention Saxon, so Saxon knows that he's in our hearts during this service and he's with us. So Sarah is now going to read The Courageous Heart, a very significant poem for Sally.
Thank you so much for asking me to read the poem, and I will just take this opportunity also to thank Jørgensen's family and Montsalvat family, extended Montsalvat family, to include me. I'm one of those fucked up individuals that was previously mentioned. Having come to Australia with no family whatsoever, having lost my own mother and having done this speech in her funeral, I have felt very embraced by you all. And yeah, I'm also a little bit jealous, Molly, of your mother. But instead I chose to just accept your family as my family. So I don't have to be jealous. And I feel like many of us here probably feel like we're all those fucked up individuals, and we can all take an advantage of this situation. But we have lost too many family members, too many, Sigmund, Sebastian, Ben, and now Sally, and just in such a short time. And I know when my mum died, Dad was probably the one that was most in pain. So Trevor, all right, now I'll do what I was asked here to do. The Courageous Heart. I know the stars are in the sky. I know the rivers run. I know the ocean tides obey the salute of the sun. I know the flowers trust in Mother Earth, as year by year they bloom. So why should we be so fearful of deities and doom? I know that through all life there runs a great eternal law. I know that ignorance is sin, and fear the only flaw. And knowing truth, and fearing not, I go my quiet way, assured that a courageous heart will win the darkest day. Thank you.
Right, so now we're moving into the closing part of our service for Sally. Angie and Narita, there you are. Up here. And Rhiannon and Marley, can you get ready to do the smudging? Yeah. On the back of your order of service, you'll see there's a call and response. So I'll read the first line, and I invite you all to read the line that's written in bold print. And after that, we'll have the blessing, and Rhiannon and Marley are going to be smudging Sally's ashes. And then after that, Angie and Narita will be singing the blessing, and you're invited to, they'll sing it through a number of times, to join in as you feel comfortable with it. For the joyous singing of your soul and the sharing of it, for your warmth and your work, for your love and your laughter, through the creations you leave behind in all their forms, and every time we speak your name, the peace of the rising wave to you, Sally, the peace of the silent stars, the peace of the flowing air to you, the peace of the quiet earth. Let peace, let peace, let peace make you whole. May peace, may peace, may peace fill your soul.
The peace of the rising wave to you, the peace of the silent stars, the peace of the flowing air to you, the peace of the quiet earth. Let peace, let peace, let peace make you whole. May peace, may peace, may peace fill your soul. The peace of the rising wave to you, the peace of the silent stars, the peace of the flowing air to you, the peace of the quiet earth. Let peace, let peace, let peace make you whole. May peace, may peace, may peace fill your soul. The peace of the rising wave to you, the peace of the silent stars, the peace of the flowing air to you, the peace of the quiet earth. Let peace, let peace, let peace make you whole. May peace, may peace, may peace fill your soul.
I just wanted to also say a couple of words. I first met Seb and Sally when I was about 16 or 17, and Seb persuaded me to come and do a series of plays here, the first one being Romeo and Juliet. And then we did Jack the Dancer, series of plays, and then The Green Gorillas. Seb was very good at writing his commitment to the environment and to his relationship with Indigenous communities into music that he produced through his plays and his songs. And then I was lucky enough, Sally and Lisa Young and I sang together for about 6 years as Acacia through Rhiannon's pregnancy. Seb had us dancing, I was telling Rhiannon this recently, in the main street of Adelaide, topless, covered in red ochre, for one of his plays. How he managed to talk, and in fact, Sally was heavily pregnant with Rhiannon at the time. Rhiannon, apart from Sally's wildness, I'm really glad that it was also mentioned about her meditation, because I think it was a really strong core to her. I also knew her through the Divine Light Mission, and I know that Sally was so wild, and there were so many different aspects of her, but her meditation and her practice of that was really, really important to her, and it always was the thing that brought her back home again. And she shared that with so many people, and it's just been so wonderful to hear all the stories, because I think everyone here has had that experience of how Sally's uniqueness has touched each and every one of us. And I just feel so privileged to have that, because I know for me, she and Seb changed the direction of my life from meeting them so early. So I really want to thank her and her beautiful, beautiful family, all her children, and Trevor as well. So thank you.
Okay, so I can pretty much hear Sally saying, well, when's the singing and dancing starting? In the hall and up. Trevor, you want to speak some?
I'd like to thank you all for coming and share a thought for those who couldn't be here. And Chut Chut Jane Noah Chan, fly well.
Chut Chut Jane.